Thanks for listening. This is Ralph and Vicki's Off-Grid podcast with your host, Pete Rogers, and we're coming to you today from the Hunter's Blend Coffee Studio.
Welcome to Off-Grid with Ralph and Vicki. I'm your host, Pete Rogers. This is a podcast dedicated to archery, hunting, and living the outdoor lifestyle. In today's podcast, we're going to discuss Ralph and Vicki's greatest hunts, or the ones that stick out in their minds the best.
The greatest adventures of Ralph and Vicki.
Wow, Off-Grid.
Off-Grid.
So,
Sounds kind of funny.
So when talking about
How
this,
about just our favorite memory to hunt?
that's what I'm saying.
Not the greatest
It doesn't
hunts.
have
That
to
makes
be
it sound like
the biggest trophy. It
Right.
doesn't have to be the most outlandish adventure, Kyrgyzstan, or anything like that. We can talk about whatever
Randomness.
stands out in your mind as you say, this is a hunt I like to tell people about. That's kind of
We
the
probably
way
need to make it like 2 and 3 part podcast on this, because we have some that we can
Oh,
tell.
make
We
10
could
parts.
give you, one hunt and this one podcast and be done, and then you'd be like, you only have one favorite? We're like, no, we have more.
Okay, well, we're going to do several favorites, so we want the condensed version, but enough so that the listener can, be there with you and
Okay.
experience what it is that it is. So we'll start with Vicki.
Oh, wow, that was quick.
I know, that's what you get,
Whoa,
throwing it
ow, yee. You know what? That's really, there are a lot of memorable hunts that honestly, some of them are mine, some of them are things that I've filmed, some of them are obviously some of our favorite. I think it's just getting our son RJ out there hunting.
Absolutely.
I think that's actually,
the kids.
getting the kids out there. I mean, like you said, it doesn't necessarily need to be the biggest, baddest, the coolest deer, the coolest, whatever, elk, moose, whatever it was. I mean, we've had some crazy trips for sure. But I think, honestly, I think some of my fondest, my best memories are the ones that we've shared with RJ as a family.
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree with me?
Yes.
I mean, like the very first hunt we've ever took RJ, where he actually hunted. I mean, he sat in ground blinds with us. He sat in tree
He
stands.
was in backpacks with
He
us.
was,
I mean,
my first mule deer that I
Yeah.
shot out in Colorado, he was 10 months old, and Billy, who was the landowner out there, he had RJ driving around. Okay, he drove RJ around in his car seat.
Here's what I'll never forget with that. Billy, what a great guy, the whole family. But what's funny was, we were trying to, not a lot of sweets and all that. Billy would get white powdered donuts.
Not at 10 months, but after that, yeah.
And him and RJ would just pig out on white powdered. They would come pick us up, and RJ oh my gosh!
The first year, or
Remember
actually,
that?
it was the second year that we hunted out there. So, and I shot my first mule deer out there, and I shot it, and we got a hold of Billy, and he came out, and he had RJ in the back, and before I even went and recovered my mule deer, we stuck the little
frame pack
pack on my back, and I recovered my first
I
mule
think
deer
I've
with
seen that
RJ
picture with you
on my back, at 10 months old. So I mean, memories like that are pretty cool. I mean, we've taken them all over the place, but I think like some of them, like the first hunt, we were hunting down at Hoppy's. Again, family time is just, we seem to have so many memories with Hoppy and the family, the Kempfers down there and the Osceola Outfitters. But RJ it was like 3 days to his 5th birthday. He was...
We already had him rigged up. He was shooting a 10-point crossbow.
At home here.
And we put a laser. Hunting hogs, that's 100% legal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we put a laser, and what he would do is he'd get his little bog pod, remember?
Yep.
And we'd put him on a chair, or there were a lot of times he was sitting on our lap, and he would come up, and we would have him shoot a 3D hog target.
Yeah. Okay.
And what it was we had him engaged into the getting his cheek down and everything, but we could see
where it was aiming.
Where the laser
was.
Yeah.
Laser.
And he knew that he had to hit it in the shoulder.
Yep.
Even though he didn't call it a shoulder, it was a solder.
Shoulder. Yeah.
The solder.
Shoulder, yeah.
And some may say, man, that's too early. You know what I mean? Here's the thing. He's been around it from day one. You know what I mean? He literally was around hunting camps and everything.
From at least 10 months old, or
almost came out. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, he was in hunting camps. Yeah, while I was pregnant.
Yeah,
but still.
No.
So
but
I mean, he's been everywhere with us. In fact, I have a photo. He wasn't. Well, he was born in January. Turkey season here is May. I have a picture of me holding RJ in camouflage. I did not take him out at 3 months old or 4 months old.
With the turkey.
But I have a turkey, our yellow lab at the time. He was Buckus. I had Buckus. I was holding RJ with my turkey here in Illinois.
That's cool.
It is.
So
Cool.
I guess there's proof that we live this.
This is our lifestyle. This is our lifestyle. And when we took RJ out, we got down there by Hoppy's and had him shoot it again. Made sure Hoppy was comfortable with us doing it. Hoppy's all about family and getting kids.
Oh my God.
His
probably,
sons.
truly, I'm sorry, but probably one of the best mentors I've ever seen with any child. Wouldn't you say?
Hoppy just he disarms them. He makes them relax.
He wins them over. He gets
them over. Gets them relaxed.
He just has a way with people that just makes you comfortable and makes you feel like he's known you your whole life.
Right.
Absolutely, and that's
really
just
does.
how he does it. And we had gotten down there, and Hoppy has two sons, Sage and Case. Case is only a year older than RJ. Sage is, I think, 3 years older than RJ. Because I think he's 2 years older than Case. Yep. So, I mean, these boys grew up together. We go down there 2-3 times a year. So, I mean, they're almost like cousins at this point. In fact, it was always Uncle Hoppy, And we went down there, and Case was all excited about RJ being able to get out and go hunting and stuff like that. And they had us set up, we were hunting where the cattle were at.
Yep.
It's a bullpen. So, it was a big pasture, but it's where
the
smaller bulls.
Trough.
And they were actually coming to the feed trough for the bulls. Now, the bulls were nowhere near us, so we don't need anyone saying, oh my gosh, what were you doing? But we set up a ground blind, and Ralph and RJ and I were sitting in there. I'm filming. Ralph is sitting there with RJ on his lap, basically. We got the bog pod set up. We've got the 10-point on top of it. And we're just sitting waiting. And actually, we had someone hanging up in a tree. Not really hanging in a tree. Someone was standing up on a branch, up in a big V of the tree above us, filming it also. So, he's like, hey, there's a hog coming. We're like, okay. And RJ got all excited. And this hog come in, and we're waiting. And he finally presents a shot. And he's like, Ralph says, he said, how'd you say it? He said, about hitting it in the shoulder. He said, he goes, I aim just right for the shoulder. And it was really funny. But the best part was, like, after he shot it and it ran off, and we're like, oh my gosh, and what a moment as parents, and he's all excited, and he looks at Dad, and he's like, Ralph goes, well, what do you think? He's like,
I said, I think you heart shot him.
Yeah, he goes, well, no, he goes, I think my heart is beating faster than that hog's or something like that, because he was like shaking, and I was like, oh my gosh, he got the shakes. I'm like, this is really cool, and so we got out of there and we recovered the hog, and I mean,
awesome.
It's a family photo. There's a picture of it, like, in the house, I mean, it's like, here's this little itty bitty RJ who's now 6'1", and bigger than both of us.
Yeah.
And to have that at that moment, I think a family is like probably one of my favorite kind of hunts. And since that moment.
Oh my gosh.
It's great as a parent when you get to share it with your children. You're there with them when they get to get their first animal.
Yep.
No matter what kind of
even their first opportunity, whether it happens or it doesn't, and we've been there. Where you're hunting, you're at the highest of high and the lowest of low in a millisecond. Mm-hmm. Whether you're squeezing a trigger, whether you're hitting the release, whether you're, you know what I mean? It's.
Yeah.
Oh,
I know.
You know what I mean? And everybody knows what we're talking about.
Yes. If you've hunted at all, then you've experienced that.
You've been there.
Yeah.
And here's the reality of it: you're going to be there again.
Yeah. That's how we go back.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when you also so he did that when he was almost 5, and then he shot a couple hogs after that.
Oh, he shot
for
a
couple
lot,
of years. He shot a couple hogs. We were gonna have him turkey hunt one year with a shotgun, and then that didn't happen the first time we tried to take him down there because he got a little nervous with the shotgun. So we didn't do that anymore. We didn't push him on that.
We learned. I mean, we made mistakes, and we tried to even share them with the viewers. For all the years. Like one and. No matter who it is, and we talked about this from one of the previous podcasts about setting up a bow. Don't overbow yourself. Well, don't overbow and don't overgun.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
because if you get that going and it spanks them, man, they're done. RJ was done for a year.
A 20 gauge shotgun is a really good turkey hunting gun. You don't need a 12.
It is.
A single gauge or a single shot. Say it's safe. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. And it makes you aim more accurately because you don't have a
you don't have that opportunity to just rack another one in there and be done.
Yep.
We so the first deer hunt we took him on though was here at home, and we were out. Another learning experience for Mom and Dad sitting here. Seriously. Pete, you're probably wondering where we're going to go with this. So.
Wow, Pete.
So.
To learn from the mouths of babes.
I think he was 8. He might have been 8. It's actually the mount in the house.
Okay.
Okay. He shot a button. His first deer. It was awesome.
And let's. I mean. Just like you, Pete, we've always looked at hunting as a very progressive stages in your hunting. You know what I mean? And what we wanted, we didn't want him to go out and shoot a heck of a nice deer his first time, because what does he have to look forward to?
Exactly
and you know what? Honestly, if a really nice deer would have come through, we wouldn't have told him no. But the first when we were set up in a ground blind, you and I and him, again, I'm filming, Dad's helping. Right? I was helping this time. You were filming.
Okay, but I would have said no.
Okay.
I would have.
Okay.
I really did.
Yeah.
Because I've stuck to my guns with that, just because I don't want that. You have to learn and appreciate and realize, what we do as hunters, and I've tried to bring RJ up like that, and Vicky's, she's right on. I mean, you're sitting there with your child, and for those who can't relate. But their kids play sports. It's like they scored their first soccer goal. They scored their first touchdown. They recovered their first fumble. Whatever it is, you know what you felt.
Right.
And nothing can replicate that.
That's exactly right.
And that's what this is. Yeah, go on.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So these deer are coming in their does and young ones, and they come in. And we're like, okay, just wait. And then the one, he wanted to shoot the biggest one there. Well, the biggest one was a button. And we're like, okay, wait. And then all of a sudden, RJ goes, well, why? Why does everything have to be on film?
I just want to cover that a little more.
Okay.
And that is, the deer are moving. It's going through the different windows. And we're telling them, yes, no. Just what we hate. If someone's behind you saying, yes, no, yes, no. And you're throwing that on an 8-year-old boy, child.
Yeah.
So he says, you could, the frustration, and he said, why does everything have to be on film?
That's a good point. Something most people can't relate with, but they can say, okay.
Right. But it kind of slapped up upside our head.
Huh?
We looked at each other and went, just stop. Just, stop.
Quit filming.
Yep. And Dad says, take him. And RJ took him.
Oh, man.
So RJ's first deer is not on film.
He pinned him, huh? He pinned him.
Yeah. Just he pinned it. It went down right there. We were all excited and happy and stuff like that. But we have photos and we have them out.
Everything in your life is on film except RJ's first
Except for RJ's first deer hunt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how does that feel?
Doesn't bother me one bit.
No.
We were there. We experienced it.
It was a memory as a family that we shared.
And most people who are listening to this, they don't ever film.
No.
None of their hunts are on film.
No.
All they have is the photographs afterwards.
Yep.
That talk about, or that show for years to come what the event was about.
Yeah.
So.
And I didn't realize a button buck mount is just as expensive as
They don't care what size it is.
No, buddy.
But Dad told him, he's like, the first deer you get, we're gonna mount for you. So we mounted it. So we have a button buck mount in the house.
How about that?
Yeah.
I've seen that.
What?
Yeah.
And his first hog was mounted, and his first
it.
turkey was mounted.
Right?
Yeah, no,
We'll never
forget that day.
No.
And I don't believe he will.
No.
You
don't forget your first one.
No.
Because there's only one first.
That's right.
Everything else is just different, but but there's only one first, and so that's why they stand out. So with that, where on other hunts, where would you say was the most extreme place that you went in North America?
Ooh, you threw a North America. I would have to say our adult sheep hunt for extreme craziness things that we've done.
Southern wrangles, you know what I mean? All the rim and anyone that sheep hunts or goat hunts, they know what it is. You know what I mean? And people try to portray it and show it, and it is. What we learned was, a lot of your mountain hunting is not only physical but mental.
there's a huge mental game that a lot of people don't take into consideration when they go on a hunt.
And explain that on the
Okay,
on
so
mountain hunt.
you can be the most physical fit person in the universe. And if you don't have the right mental attitude to realize that, you know what, you're going to go up, you're going to get blisters. You might get blisters. I'm not going to say you're going to. You might get blisters. You're going to Charlie horse. You're going to, you could be exhausted. Well, it's up to you to get your booty back to camp. There's a lot of people that just want to quit. They let the mental attitude
but also
beat them
weather.
up and never leave camp. Well,
It's not just
there's
the
weather
physical.
too.
Yeah.
No, you're right. Weather can beat the tar out of you.
You're
don't
always
think
wet. You're miserable. You're cold. There's a lot of things that, like Vicki said, you could be in great shape. But mentally, if you haven't psyched yourself up to say, you know what,
I can do this.
I can do this no matter what. And I mean, you really have to be prepared.
Yeah.
We'll be right back with more of Ralph and Vicki's Off-Grid podcast with your host, Pete Rogers. Welcome back to Ralph and Vicki's Off-Grid podcast with Pete Rogers. We're coming to you from the Hunter's Blend Coffee Studio. Now let's get back to the show. I mean, we've had, over the years, we've sent people out on hunts to film for us.
Yeah. And
that were in really good shape, and they just fell apart. And there's a lot of people out there that do. And you don't have to be in top shape to do these hunts.
Right.
But if you have the right mindset,
You have to be mentally
can do
tough.
anything. You can overcome anything with the right mindset.
Most wilderness hunts are that way, though. And when I say wilderness, I use that term very loosely, because for a lot of guys and gals, a wilderness hunt may be public land in Colorado, but you're walking 8 to 10 to 12 miles a day looking for elk
or go
looking
to the
for
East
mule deer.
Coast. You know what I mean? Do something like that.
Go hunt some of them hollers down there in Ohio and PA.
Yeah.
That'd be enough to
You
kill
could be
me.
lost for years.
I heard somebody say one time, excuse me, is that on these type hunts, you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yes.
Because you're
That's
uncomfortable the
accurate.
whole time.
You are
Like
correct.
I said, you're either cold, wet, you may have to just sleep on the mountain because it's late and it's too far to go back, and so
Yep.
or in the wilderness, I've done that out there where I just got to spend the night. It's not going to be pleasant. It's just
Nope.
one night.
But it's better off to stop and regroup and spend the night than maybe hypothermia, exhaustion, get lost. There's so many other things that
That's right.
It's better off just to stop.
That's right.
And we've spent time up there in Alaska, also on brown bear hunts, where we were stuck. The weather comes in. You're supposed to be flying out,
You ain't
and you're
flying
stuck
out.
another 7 days because of the
7
weather.
days?
7
Yes.
extra days in a little pup
Now let's
tent.
talk about let's talk about that mental
Okay.
part of it. Okay, mentally, your mind was set to leave.
To go
let's just
home.
say on Saturday. Your mind's set.
Yeah.
Done.
You knew your hunt. You were successful. You weren't. Whatever it is. Then all of a sudden comes Sunday. Now your flight was out on Sunday. You know you had to be at work at Monday. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden it's Wednesday.
And you're still there.
And
You
you've
have-
read the same book 5 times at this point.
You have all this mental stress, and then because of the mental stress, it became physical because you're just you know what I mean?
Everything's tense and tight.
You start losing it.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
especially like in those really remote places, you can't call home
been
and
there.
say, I'm safe.
lot.
I'm safe. The weather just has us where we can't fly out, and and your people at home are wondering, where's Ralph and Vicki? Where's Ralph and Vicki?
you have to. It's a game that you play, and we love it. I'm not.
It's part of the adventure.
It's just part of it.
It's
Yeah.
part of the
But you
adventure.
have to be prepared for that.
You have to be ready
Whenever
to,
you go, you have to be prepared
like,
that
take a deck of cards with you.
you have to be prepared that you may not come home in 10 days, even though it's a
Right.
10-day hunt. It may be 14 days.
And honestly, like we were saying Alaska, but every time we go up to Bob Effort's in Newfie for fall moose hunting or caribou hunting, there's always a hurricane or a tropical storm. The weather's always horrible when we go up there.
We'd have been up there almost right now and get what hit the hurricanes.
Yeah. It always happens, and it's not, I mean, there's been a couple times we had guys stuck up there 4 extra days.
Oh, yeah.
In Newfoundland, where you don't think Newfoundland is so remote as you would Alaska and mountains.
Or Northwest Territories or any of those
you
other
don't think
places,
that, but
British
you're still out where you've been flown into a spot and
Yep.
they can't fly to get you out.
Yep, yeah.
You're at the weather's.
And that's probably, this is probably a great topic to do someday, and that is the wilderness hunts.
Yeah, air and
Physically, mentally,
how to
the
find,
whole thing.
decide where to go, what to pursue, how to do
Right.
it. So
That's a
we'll do a
great idea.
podcast on that.
Okay, so favorable memory hunts.
I know what you got to tell them yours.
So my
Here
favorite.
you go. Wait, let me just sit here and.
So actually, it's kind of funny because we actually mentioned hunting out in Colorado already with RJ when he was 10 months old. And so actually we should discuss your
No, let's do yours
hunt
first.
because you shot yours before mine almost in the same
But
place.
I think we should do yours.
Okay.
Really?
So my most memorable hunt my personal memorable hunt, okay, not Ralph's and RJ's because those are all just kind of together too, but he's hiding his face. Not that everyone can see that, but he's hiding his face right now. We were in Colorado, and I shot a huge deer, a giant,
Whitetail.
over 200
Wait,
inches. Yeah,
why don't you say what you always say with that statement?
the biggest whitetail in the Sansrula household.
Okay.
203 in 5
And the
days.
biggest one killed by a female on video.
No,
Not anymore?
It's been done since.
Oh, so for the
but
long
that's
time.
okay. But I was the first one to do it.
Yeah, it's first one.
There goes your first again.
The longest reigning. Yep.
We'd been hunting out there for a while, many years, and we're sitting in a tree stand one afternoon, middle of November, sitting in a Russian olive tree.
16th?
13th,
13th?
November 13th. So we're sitting out there, and we have a green field. We've got things like that going on. And we're just sitting there waiting. We're kind of back in the tamaracks and in the thicket stuff, but we're sitting in a Russian olive tree. Huge cottonwoods out there. You can't put a stand in them because they're just so big. You can't even put a strap around it to put a stand in. And Ralph and I are in this tree. I'm hunting. He's filming me. And all of a sudden, about 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
I think you forgot a very, very important
I
part.
highly doubt that.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, you hurt me.
What?
I think it was actually my turn to hunt
No.
that day.
No.
Yeah.
You're wrong.
It was.
No, it was not.
Yes, it was.
No, it was not. Like I said, I highly doubt that.
You hunted the day before. Remember, we were trying something new. If you hunt the morning.
And you did.
Huh?
And you hunted that morning. And then that afternoon, I would hunt. We switched it off that way. So if you shot something in the afternoon.
You changed it for your.
No.
Yeah, you did.
No. So
Peachy did.
the way we used to hunt,
Peachy did.
when we'd hunt and film
Here you go,
together.
Pete. It's my turn.
No.
I'll never let her
Whoever
do it
hunted
again.
in the afternoon hunted the next morning, and then we would trade off. Because if you shot something the night before, you don't screw up the other person's morning hunt.
Exactly.
That's how we always
I
run.
wanted to put a stipulation here so people realize that you took advantage of it.
You're such the giver,
Oh my
Ralph.
gosh,
She
yeah,
took
he's
advantage
just
of
so
it. She did.
supportive, just so.
Again, I've been
yeah.
abused, Pete.
You're such the giver.
Be quiet.
Anyways, so it's like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, middle of November. The bucks should be chasing the does, everything else. All of a sudden, we get like, 13 bucks come out, 12, 13 bucks come out of the tamaracks and into this green field. All different sized deer. There were some does that came out with them too, but they just didn't really, none of them were paying any attention whatsoever to anything. And they're like different size. They come out small, they came out
Peak of
bigger
rut.
and bigger and bigger. And they're all
Peak
together.
of, it should be the peak of rut, and they're not rutting.
They're not. No. So we're
That's
sitting
odd.
there.
Was it warmer than usual or colder than usual?
No,
or?
I mean, I
No.
had a hood
normal,
on.
just normal.
Just
Yeah.
normal temps, And so we're sitting there, and I tried rattling. Well, actually, before we even did that, though, all of a sudden, so there's this big 8-point that had a split G2. So he's technically a 9. Big body, huge
Oh.
body, big mature whitetail buck.
He was 40 pounds bigger than her buck.
Yeah, and then
Literally. He
and-
was a brute. He was, we're like, yeah.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, this bigger deer.
How
not
far off are these
body-wise,
deer when you see them?
150 yards.
Okay, so good ways.
150 yards, good ways away. I'm bow hunting, So they're in this green field, and they're all together. And then all of a sudden, into this green field jumps this giant buck. I mean,
Never
antler-wise,
forget,
just
ever
forget how he jumped into there. And then so they're all in there just feeding, 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And so I tried grunting, don't even lift their heads. Try rattling, doesn't do a dang thing. Ralph's like, Vic, use the snort wheeze. So I try snort wheezing. That big 8 with the split G2 looks up, and then that big buck just looks up, and they both look over in our direction, and we're both like, go.
And they were probably 50, 60 yards apart.
In this green field.
After she did that, they started to come on a line directly to where that sound came from.
It was like, wow, this is crazy.
They got within, 10 feet of each other?
Yeah,
maybe
and
15
then
feet?
that big 8 with the split G2, he actually...
Posturing, they're both posturing.
Yeah, and even though he had probably, like you said, like 40 pounds on him, this big deer just kind of like looked at him, and the 8 just put his head back down and started feeding again.
Showed subordinate and just turned.
And walked.
Oh, that's cool.
And we're seeing all this.
Is that on video?
I think it is.
I think it is. I was filming through the trees. You know what I mean? But you're watching all of this happen, and it's like, oh my gosh.
So this big guy, he walks over because it's a cattle ranch. He walks over to where the barbed wire fence is to keep the cattle out of the green field. He gets that fence and he jumps the fence, and he comes into the tamaracks, into the thicket where we're at. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
He's coming.
I'm like, he's coming. And then as this is happening, all of a sudden there's these 2 bluebirds. There's
unbelievable.
These two bluebirds fly in.
Look at the bluebirds.
So there's this giant buck, and Ralph is
you
like,
got this monster deer coming in, and Vicki goes, "Oh, look at the bluebirds."
There's this giant deer coming in, and I see these 2 bluebirds, and I'm like, look at those 2 bluebirds. And they flew in and they sat on this branch, and I'm like, why are these bluebirds
There is a
here?
200-inch buck coming in, and she goes, "Oh, look at the bluebirds."
So I was like,
her white hand, she's sitting there, and
it was just weird because I'm
Pete,
like,
I was
they
like,
look like eastern bluebirds.
bluebirds.
They shouldn't be here. So anyways, all of a sudden I was like, oh, I saw movement out of, and I see him walking. He walked out from behind this tamaracks.
Was your heart beating by now?
Oh yeah, but
No,
he walks out.
bluebirds.
He walks out from behind the tamarack, and he's still probably 60 yards from me. And my heart starts beating, and then all of a sudden the bluebird flew past me again, and I was like, oh, there he goes again, like squirrel, like a attention deficit here. But wait, so there's actually a good part to the story about the bluebird. So I go back, I look at the deer, he comes in, he's still looking for the sound. We have not made one more sound, and he came straight to almost to our tree. I shot him at 17 yards.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, I shot him at 17 yards. He ran off. He ran about 50 yards, stopped, hunched up for a second, and then he did his, death run. Just boom, and he went behind some tamaracks, and we couldn't see him. And I turn around, and I look at Ralph, and the footage is hysterical. When I look at the footage nowadays, I just laugh my butt off because I just start bawling. I'm like, oh my God, and I'm trying to use my binos, and I can't even, the earth
I've
is
seen
shaking.
that,
The
yeah.
whole tree is shaking, but it's not just from her.
Yeah, he and I are just...
I knew. I told her. I said,
He goes,
"Vicki,
Vic, I think you just shot a 200-inch deer. And I'm like, no, I didn't. He's like, yeah, I think you did.
Yeah.
So
I've seen that footage, yeah. It's good stuff.
It was crazy. So then he's filming me, my reaction, and then I'm talking about what just happened. And all of a sudden I start rambling on about this bluebird. And he's looking at me. I'm in a tree stand. I just shot this giant deer, and I'm talking about bluebirds.
I wish we would show that. The whole thing someday.
Yeah.
Because I
think I rambled on for like 15, 20 minutes.
15, 20 minutes. Ramble.
After I shot that
15,
deer.
20 minutes?
Yes.
Minutes.
Yes.
I'm sitting there holding the camera. I'm like, shut up.
You were not.
up.
You were excited as I was, you liar.
She just kept going. And we are, I'm telling you, you can't, we can't even, I mean,
so
to share that together, holy moly.
So, in hindsight, when I look back at them bluebirds, I actually think that was God. I think he calmed my butt down
With those bluebirds?
Yes.
with those bluebirds.
Because you would have been shaking so much you would have
I
been able to
don't
draw
know
the
I'd
bluebird.
have ever been able to shoot. He drew my attention. Okay, and my favorite line in there too is that, but blue's my favorite color. Seriously, it's in the footage. I'm like,
I've seen it,
and then I
yeah.
saw 2 bluebirds, and blue's my favorite color. It was a moment where it just kind of calmed me. It sounds kind of crazy, but
That's real.
yeah.
Yeah, it is.
That's real.
And then we got out of the stand. We waited. You made me wait.
Oh, yeah.
He made me wait. It was horrible. And I'll never forget, which is kind of funny too, is that we had just gotten the new Realtree AP don't ask me why I remember that, but we had just gotten those hoodies, those fleece hoodies.
Yep.
And so, seriously, like they had just, I don't know why that sticks in my head, but it was that day. And I can even tell you what song I listened to on the radio on the way out there. Is that not
It's just
great?
one of those days that just stick
It
into
just
your mind
sticks
forever.
it sticks in my mind forever. So we got down, we started following the blood trail. We had a great blood trail on him. And then all of a sudden, I just started oh my God.
She probably said, "Oh my God."
I
40
didn't
times.
know what else would come out of my mouth because I couldn't fathom that I just took this beautiful creature.
It wasn't in vain.
It was not. And in hindsight, I wish I wouldn't have said it. I mean, I wasn't using his name in vain or anything like that. But it was just. And then I get up to him and I'm bawling. I have tears and I'm just picking him up and I'm looking at him and Ralph is like, "Holy cow! Look at this thing!" And then
Your phone rang.
No, my sarcasm.
Oh yeah.
Then I pick him up and I'm looking at him and I'm just, thanking the good guy up above, the big Lord up above, and I'm looking at him and I'm like, I look at Ralph right at the camera. I'm like, I told you that I'd shoot a buck with eye guards like this one day. Just.
Buddy, she has mentally abused me so bad.
Just pouring salt in the wound, man.
Oh.
We could have, and then my phone rang.
Yep.
And it was Candy Kiski.
Yep.
And I'm like, hey, she's like, what are you doing? I'm like, Candy, I go, I just shot a monster deer, and I said I will probably never shoot a deer this big again.
I still remember Donnie you could hear him, send a picture.
Send photos, and we didn't have our iPhones back then, we had flip phones, so you're trying to take pictures and you got to get the camera out and take pictures and go back into the hotel and put on a laptop.
What year was this? What year did you kill him?
2006.
2006.
I remember that.
Because yours was 04. It was 2 years before.
I remember it was 204.
Your mule deer? Mm-hmm. So tell us that story. Tell us about your mule deer story.
Well, no, I mean, we're... Okay.
No, but it was just, so, we got the photos and stuff like that, and the next day we took more photos, but I would have to say that's probably my most...
With Billy, when we got it, Billy, we called the game warden, Kevin.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Had him come just because we wanted to make sure, everybody knew that everything was
right.
legit.
It was legit. There was no questions, anything. And then it was really kind of funny because Phil Phillips, who was hunting out in Kansas. Now, Phil, we've known Phil forever.
Forever.
And he was one of the ones that had told us we should try doing this TV show thing. So, he actually knew Billy as well, and he had stopped by, and he was hunting in Kansas. Now, the Kansas border from where we were hunting in Colorado was like 30 miles. And he comes up, and he's like, oh, I got to show you guys this deer I just shot in Kansas. And he pulls this deer out, and we have a photo of it somewhere. He pulls his rack out, and we're looking at it. I'm like, wait, I got to show you the one that I shot. And I pull mine out, okay? The one he shot looks like the grandbaby to mine.
Really?
It had the same genetics.
Crazy.
Same
Really?
genetics.
That deer, you would swear that it was Vicky's buck a year or two years earlier.
It was like, because it's on the Arkansas River.
It was.
That is 30 miles difference.
30 wild different. Yeah. I mean, it seriously
That's a
looked.
long way to cover, isn't it? A lot of
It
ground to
had-
cover.
It had.
She
the
has a picture
same
somewhere.
genetics.
It
I mean, it
was
was
crazy.
It was.
Good.
Like
gracious.
scary crazy.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you'd be like,
Yeah.
oh my God.
Let's get some DNA samples and see if these two deer are related some kind of way. Yeah, that would have been.
If any biologist would look at the rack, they'd say, "Oh yeah, this was his sheds," or you know what I mean?
Right.
And they aged mine.
Yep.
They figured he had to be 7 or 8 years old.
Okay.
So he was just old, and that's why that 8 point that was out there was probably in his prime. 5, 6 years old, where mine was older.
But he respected the elder.
Yeah. Boy, I wish they
you
did
should,
that
right?
nowadays, isn't it?
Yeah, you're old.
I'm the elder.
Yeah, you're elder.
Yeah.
Whatever, right? So it was really cool. So
It was awesome.
so I shot him in 06, and then so where we were hunting though, there was actually mule deer and whitetail, and it's an any deer tag, so you could shoot whitetail or mule deer
Okay.
on that deer tag. 2 years before that, only a mile from where I shot my 203, you were hunting muleys,
Yep.
and I was filming you.
Yep. And it was a day that I'll never forget. We were actually, we spotted this big buck, and I mean, you could see it was a big deer. in the sage flats, and it's heading back to bedding. Had a doe and a forky with it. You know, they're just lead, and you're following, you know, up and down the little hills, and we're trying to keep sight, and then I mean, what on camera makes it look like a half-hour hunt,
maybe
5 hours at least.
Oh, goodness.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So we you know, we're watching, and then they go in this coulee. We can't find them, and I mean, we waited. We just figured. And we were done. We figured we're not going to push him. Next day, you know, tomorrow will be another day, or tonight, we'll you know what I mean? So we start leaving, and Vicki goes, "There he is." Sure enough, he went he went in this coulee, heading
Now, what's
south.
the coulee for East Coast
Kind of like a
people?
little drainage.
A little drainage,
Okay.
you know what I mean,
Just
in the
a-
rolling hills of the
Okay.
sage.
Okay.
He went down, and they were all heading straight south. Well, he pops up a half a mile away, heading straight east.
Okay.
So we were like, boom! We hit the ground. We got our binos up, and we're watching, and then all of a sudden we could see him. You know, he walked forward, and then he turned around, and you know, like right away we knew he's looking to bed. He's looking to bed.
And he had that little forky with him and a doe
And
that
the doe.
we knew of.
Yep. And so he bedded, you know, he went back down, and we figured, okay, so I think we waited another hour.
We waited another hour.
And then
We just sat down. We got a little closer, and we just sat down and waited.
We'll be right back with more of Ralph and Vicki's Off Grid podcast with your host, Pete Rogers.
I've seen the proof. I know the truth. This is what I was made to do. I was born for this.
Welcome back to Ralph and Vicki's Off Grid podcast with Pete Rogers. We're coming to you from the Hunter's Blend Coffee Studio. Now let's get back to the show.
you know,
Okay.
it's a morning hunt, so you know, we're
Okay, so it's,
We're
okay.
just
Yep.
gonna wait. Yeah.
So we ended up I think I went through a whole wind bottle.
Over and over and over
Yeah,
and over.
yep. So we start parallel. We start going closer and closer, and probably where we thought he was, about 120 yards away. I said, "All right, we got to take our boots off." She looked at me like, "What?"
There's cactus out there. I'm like, I'm not taking my boots off. Are you
But
kidding
I'm
me?
like, "No, we need to be quiet." You know what I mean?
I'm like,
So
what if we never find my boots?
I said, "I've only lost one pair in all these years, so don't worry about it."
Yeah. I was like,
And
come on now.
So then I got threatened again. You know what I mean?
And that's actually on film.
Yeah.
That part, because I was filming
Yeah.
him. I was recording it. I'm like, wait a minute. What if we don't find my boots? Come on.
We'll buy you some more boots, Vic, okay?
Right. Yeah. Let's
Yeah, yeah.
let's get that in.
So we start going, and I'm trying, with the sun, now at our back, which is a big plus. Because I want, thinking that if we jump him up, he might hesitate. You know what I mean? So we start moving closer and closer, and Vicki, again, just spots the tines moving the sage.
He is
down.
bedded down with his head
Laying
on
his
the
chin
ground.
on the
His
ground.
chin is on. The sagebrush is only so tall, but this mule deer goes 228. He's a giant mule deer, but his head is flat on the ground. We can't see
Really?
the forky. We can't see the doe. We can't see anything.
how
and
he
then
survived.
in the sagebrush, all I saw was a couple tines, and he had just moved his head. That's all I saw. I saw movement, and I was like, Ralph. He's like, what? I'm like, just stare right there. And he put his binos up because I'm filming, and because at that point we didn't know where he was at.
No,
So we
we
had
didn't.
stopped, and we're just
and we
like
still don't
looking
know where
around.
the other two are either.
Right. So we're just kind of like looking. I'm like not even recording. Like we're just trying to figure out where he's at, and then. And I saw the
I'm
movement.
trying to figure out which way he's facing, and
Yeah.
because all you see is just
seriously just
part of
saw
the forks,
Yeah.
Right.
and then all of a sudden you could start as he's just looking, he'd just come up a little bit. Now you could see. So now we figure, okay, if he's just bedded regular, he's facing this way, or if he's curled. Which you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he's facing the other way. So we just waited and figured, okay, now we're trying to scan. Both of us are scanning, trying to find
the other two.
the
The other
forky and the
two.
doe.
Yeah. Can't find them.
from.
So we know if we're gonna get busted, it's gonna be them.
Right.
We know where he's at this point. So like, he's like, well, let's go for it. What are you gonna do? Like, we can't just.
You gotta
sit here.
try
We're
something.
gonna try something. So we start walking, but we start walking again, getting a little closer. And then as we got to about 40 yards, now, like Ralph said, the sun is in our favor, the wind is in our favor, and we had a bit of a breeze, which was awesome because there was a bunch of dried sunflowers, remember?
Yep, remember that.
So the breeze with the dried sunflowers and the
cracking
sage,
or-
Making
it was
lots of
making a
noise,
little bit of
yeah.
noise, so it was kind of covering us walking in our socks, which I didn't get any cactus in, so that was
No.
good. But so we got to about 40 yards, and Ralph's like, we're going to get closer. And I'm
think
like, no,
yeah.
I'm not. I'm like, I am staying right here. If I screw this up, there will be no more Ralph and Vicki. It will be Ralph. Because I know at this point with this giant mule deer that if I screw this up at this point, I'm done for. I mean, there's no living that over.
No.
No. So I stayed put, and he got up to about 20 yards.
Got to 21 yards.
You got to 21 yards.
You're still bedded.
So you were on your belly crawling
No,
or
sir.
on your hands and
He was-
knees?
No, I
Because he wouldn't
had
have
to
been able
stay
to stage
above
over
the
the
stage. So what I did is I just kept watching, and I visually, I'm trying to look at a line that I could just go as quiet as possible. But I had my bow up the whole time,
And I
thinking,
think the last 10 yards, you actually were full draw just in case. I mean, he was just like, okay, I'm ready.
I think I came to full draw at about 35 yards or something like that. And, you know what I mean? And I bleeded. Nothing.
He
Didn't even
tried
move.
grunting, tried.
So I went closer, I got within 21 yards, and I bleeded again. And I'm at full draw. I'm not holding my bow. I'm at full draw. And what I'm
Bleeding,
trying to do is
calling.
anticipate when he stands up, because now we know which way he's facing and everything. When he stands up, I got a second. I got a millisecond.
He's gonna stand up, blink at the sun, and that's all he's got.
I'm trying to keep my True Glow fiber optic pin right at the top of the sage.
And
Okay.
that's where
Right
the test
on
is
the
gonna
sage
be.
line. I'm not, because I have nothing, I don't have a place to hold on him right now.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I go, nothing. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
And he's there. We can see his at this point.
Yeah, you
At
can
this
see
point,
it really
he
well
has
now.
lifted his head up a couple times. We've never seen his head, but his antlers have come up over the stage.
And you start seeing, when he starts, you see this mass. And you could see the mass from a mile away. You know what I mean? So I go, and you see, and I'll never, in slow motion.
I don't really think it was slow motion, but
motion in my head, he just comes up, and as
Just
he
looks over his
turns
shoulder.
to look, my beaming was my
It was
Hoyt
already
had
in
already
him.
sent the missile. It
Oh,
was
yeah.
already, because my head was right when I saw that brown coming into the top of the sage. It had to be going. It pins him on the crease.
and he goes running, and he goes
goes
about
40 yards.
40 yards, and then just starts boom,
Just-
wobbles.
So you did a little snort wheeze. He stands and turns to look at you at the same time.
Yes, and my
because he was laying broadside. Okay, so when he got up, he stood up broadside to him, but I'll never forget that because he stood up and looking at that snort wheeze. So he was still broadside, but when he finally, and the sun is blinding him, he can't. So
Right,
it just
perfect.
everything was
we
it was
used
textbook.
everything we possibly could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as soon as he got
Spitfire.
up, he had already been hit.
Spitfire
Yes.
was right. I mean, you could see it. It's all on camera. As he comes to full extension, the arrow's there.
That's so.
I mean, God, you
It
talk
was-
about God. You know what I mean? Saying, Ralph,
Yeah.
here's your time, here's your chance, and boom.
And then the quiet of after a shot lost.
Yeah,
there was
I
no
went
quietness after
crazy.
the shot. When that buck went down,
you got to remember, this has been 5 hours, 5-6 hours. I
Yeah.
don't know how long.
And the buck of a lifetime. At the same
oh
time.
my gosh, yeah.
But we highs and lows.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we thought we lost him, but hopefully we'll get on him tonight or we'll get him on him tomorrow. I'm not hunting a different deer. I'm gonna, you know what I mean? But and then
we found him, and then we lost him, and then
Yep.
we found him, and it
Just the
just
fact
kept,
you were able to get to within 21 yards of a bedded trophy mule deer is just impressive. I mean,
And-
it just
and
is.
he
share
gets
it
up
together,
and the
too.
arrow hits him as he runs. The doe and the forky were right
they were
there.
right there, and they both stood up and ran.
Right there beside him
Yeah.
or beside you.
Just to the left of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just crazy, and I mean, how we could, and they were
How
one of
we
them
didn't
was
get
closer.
busted. Yeah. How we didn't get busted.
Yeah,
Everything was in your favor,
yeah, that's
and
it.
then you did everything right. So
Yep.
One of those rare times.
Yeah, especially with me.
With Ralph is able to do
Very
everything
rare
right.
time. You know. But
Well, a blind hog finds an acorn every now and then.
That's
that's right. Call me a hog, I don't care, man. If I could, you know, I did it already in my life.
Yeah.
If I never do it again, I'm good with it.
That's right.
I really am.
Yeah.
It's not about the numbers. It's about the experiences.
Right.
Well, and sharing it
Right.
together too, because
Oh.
those are two of it's our two biggest deer.
I know I almost broke Billy's ribs.
Yeah,
I
squeezing
almost
him.
choked him, he said.
When you hugged him? Yeah.
When you
Yeah,
hugged him.
because I was so,
You know.
I'm telling you, and
And that deer measured what?
over 200 inches.
Okay.
Yeah, over 228 inches.
Yeah.
Over 220 plus.
He has some. I mean, I've seen
got
it.
some
Just for the
mass. Yeah,
listeners to know,
yeah.
I've seen it, and the mass is just.
That's
just
what it
crazy.
is.
Besides the tine length, which is insane for a
Over
mule deer.
50
Yeah.
inches of measurable mass.
Yeah, the mass on that deer all the way out is just really, really something. Yeah,
And then
especially.
again, we called the game warden, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And we wanted everything, so.
This is free range deer
This
hunting
is free
too.
range.
Oh,
deer hunt.
absolutely.
This
Just
is
so
not
everybody's
sage
clear about it.
flats.
Just so everybody's
Yeah,
clear about
no,
it.
this
yeah.
is just,
Sage Flat,
just-
Arkansas River Bottom,
Right.
Sage Flats.
and not really, you know, I mean, not outfitted, you know what I mean? Billy
Right.
said, hey,
Billy's
let's-
just a landowner letting
Yep.
us hunt
So
out
it'd
there.
be so it'd be like a drop camp, so to speak, or a trespass fee or
It
a
was more like a
trespass. So,
trespass.
But,
Yep.
but I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean,
Yeah,
we were
I'm
just,
just-
fortunate enough to.
I'm just saying for the listener
Yeah.
who
Right.
may say,
You're right.
"Hey, you can do this too."
Yes. Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's not one of these, $10,000 reserve
No.
hunts. I mean, this
Not
is
at
just
all.
opportunity.
Nope.
You find the animal and you go hunt
See,
it.
we ain't
So-
got that kind of money.
You just do the hotels that we stay at. in Loma.
Yeah, oh yeah. That even makes the experience even more so.
Yeah,
buddy.
because in town you don't have many choices to places to stay when we were
Yeah.
hunting out there back in the day. So it was definitely,
an
you could almost say motel hell, but yeah.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
that's for
It's
another
part of
time.
the
That's for another time. That's for another time.
I guess, Pete, the bottom line is we've been very fortunate to have incredible memories and
Right,
experiences.
right.
You know, for many to have the experience, you would have to be very wealthy.
Right.
We're not. We never have been. Never
Right.
will be. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just what
Why do
we.
you guys say
what-
never will be? Can't we work towards that?
No,
Yes.
because we want to hunt.
Yeah, never mind. Okay, forget it.
Every time you want a new toy, there
Not
goes some more.
yeah.
There goes some more retirement plan.
But
That's right.
you know what I mean?
I do,
And,
I do.
You know, just there's so many that we.
Well, let me ask you this on that note, as a just a regular American or anybody who's listening to this,
Yes.
they don't have to be American. Which one of these? I'm going to use the word adventure hunts. I hate that term, but we'll just say adventure hunts. Whether it's a muskox or a caribou or a moose or a red stag or whatever it is, which one would you say, if you're going to save your money and do one of these hunts, do this one, or Africa or whatever it is?
Well, what?
Because
Honestly, right now, because you said caribou, you need to do caribou sooner than later. Wouldn't
Yeah,
you say?
caribou's going to be. If
Well, in
you
Canada it
are trying
is.
to,
Right.
get different species, and caribou's on your list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vicky's spot on. You should really
the caribou
consider,
herds are going down.
hunting caribou. The animal themselves, I don't want to say numbers are drastically down. You know what I mean?
Right,
But
no.
opportunities are down.
Yes.
Different provinces have.
Because right now,
I
was going to say right now, Quebec, Labrador, you can't hunt them anymore. You can't hunt
That
Quebec,
used to be
Labrador,
the
caribou.
place to go.
Yes.
That used to be the
Yeah.
place. To
You
go.
can get 2 tags on
And
one
is it,
trip.
it could be numbers, it could be political, it could be, a bunch of different things that are going on. So Vicki, I mean, she's right on. Like if you want to,
If that's a
you're
bucket.
thinking about
Caribou.
a bucket list and caribou is on that list.
Do it
I would
first.
highly,
Yeah.
because here's the other thing. As it gets tougher and tougher, the cost of it is going to get higher and higher.
Right, because the competition is getting
Yep.
getting deleted.
The
Yeah.
realm for
Less.
for us average people to do that hunt is just it's gonna be out. It's
Right.
gonna be not accessible.
So as somebody like just your average working guy who's
Yeah.
just trying to say, before I leave this world, I'd like to hunt this.
Such and such, yeah.
Which animal would you say, having hunted a lot of different species, a lot of different places, which one would you say, you know what, if you could only spend your money on one hunt, do this?
I don't know that you could say that because everything trips other people's triggers.
Well, it does. It does. I mean, like
You
for me
know.
personally, I want to go to Africa.
Okay.
That's what I want to do. I want to go to Africa and I want to hunt some plains game. That's my number one hunt that I want to do before I leave this planet. If it wasn't that, it'd be red stag.
See,
You know, and those two are tit for tat. You know, I could do
Right.
either one of those. I'd be happy with just one of them. You know, but for somebody else, that may be grizzly bears. But and we understand that in this
Right.
question.
Right.
But
Right.
having done all these, or a lot of these, which one would you say? You know what? Based on my experience, I would recommend don't miss this opportunity if you get a chance.
Ooh, Pete, they really. I mean that. Really, I'm
that's a hard one to tell you. I mean, you know, we love moose hunting. They're such big animals. Love
Wow.
bear hunting, brown bear hunting, being up there without knowing what's going to... So again, it's kind of like what you... Some people absolutely would love just go out west and shoot coyotes. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's kind
I
of a
understand
really...
that.
it's
We've
a
hunted
hard-
bison in the wild, which
Yeah,
was amazing.
you know, in Montana.
Because
So-
the aura about that animal and
Yeah.
hunting them, you know, out west, and to experience that was overwhelming. We've hunted moose in the Yukon, Alaska. I've hunted moose in Russia. You know what I mean? The moose themselves,
Yeah.
Caribou, the country,
You know, honestly...
elk hunting in certain areas.
In New Zealand is absolutely beautiful.
Oh.
It's a place to go just to be able to witness it. We've
Not
been
only
to
the
Africa.
countryside,
Yeah.
the people in New Zealand. You know what I mean?
Africa
Just
is
go.
beautiful in its own way. It's got the animals, the amount of species they have over there is crazy. You know, nowadays you really need to be careful on what countries you go in over
Sure,
there.
you got to do your homework.
You know,
man.
absolutely.
and we're actually going to do a podcast on that, on international hunts and how to
Right.
to vet some of those things. So we'll
you
get
know
into
what?
more
And
detail on that.
Another one would be Australia, just because the outback, because of like the old
beautiful.
movies. You know, that ain't a
Awesome.
knife.
It's
You know,
really cool.
It was cool to see kangaroos in the wild. That was RJ's goal. That's
Wild
all he
donkey.
wanted. Yeah, wild burros,
Wild donkeys and
donkeys.
camels. They have a camel
Yeah,
issue there
yeah,
too.
I mean, but
We
you
didn't
go
see
out there-
camel, but
yeah.
Yeah, but to hunt like the water buffalo, the Asian water buffalo. in
Yeah,
there.
I'd like to cook
You know, when you're out there in the middle of the outback and stuff like, I mean, there's just so much to see and do. I don't know that I could actually tell
Pete,
you
here's-
one.
wait,
I don't think I could tell you one.
no, I think I would tell you this. As many of us get older, sometimes you lose the drive. Okay?
Right.
We would tell everybody to set goals. This year, set a goal for next year's hunt.
Right.
If it's going to be a sheep hunt, if it's going to be a deer hunt, if it's going to be an elk hunt, whatever it is,
Right.
always, even if you start going through some either physical problems or mental problems, you know,
Or financial
psychological
problems
or
financial problems, if you set a goal, it gives you that more that power drink to pursue and make it happen.
It does.
Don't ever stop
Yep.
not setting a wish list on your hunts.
Right.
Always, even when my knees, you know, they replaced my knee, Dr. Chris, you know what I mean? And I had all the problems with my legs. I told Vicki, I said, I'm going on a sheep hunt. You know what I mean? I'm gonna go to. We're gonna go back to Alaska.
And he's gonna go on his own because I don't need to do another sheep.
Are you?
no, but
Sure. I don't blame you.
I have to.
You want to prove it to yourself, and you want to just have that challenge
But I
too.
want to set the goals.
Right.
So you know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
So especially if you're hunting together as a couple, sit down, look at your wish list, and start working towards each one of those goals.
Yeah.
Now it brings you more together. It really does, and it makes you say, "Hey, look, honey, let's do this. Hey, let's go hike today." You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And all of these things, and you start making attainable goals, and every time you make one, get prepared in creating another one. So I don't think I want to even say what animal.
But you know, on that point, as back home in South Carolina, I talk with people all the time about some of these hunts, and they say, "Oh, I just can't afford that. I can't afford that." And what I keep telling them is, actually, you can. I'm just a regular guy. I don't have a lot of income. I'm just a regular salary, probably with most of the people in the world, or in America anyway. But what I've learned is if you pool your money with some buddies, get 3 or 4 of you to share travel expenses, hunt public land, do it on your own, there's a lot you can do. A lot you can do. You can go to a lot of places, hunt a lot of different animals. It goes back to the experience.
Right.
Yep,
You know,
absolutely.
You know, I've been fortunate enough to kill some animals in some places. I've been, some people say unfortunate to have hunted elk 3 times. I've never seen an elk yet. But I got great memories from those experiences.
You got the experience.
It was
the knowledge.
You know, and I've learned
every
so
day
much.
You went out, you learned.
So next time I go back, I've been going to the same place. I've learning
Maybe
how
you should
to.
learn that.
Yeah, maybe
Go
I
back
would
to
look
the
at a
same
different place.
Maybe I go to the same. I meant state.
just,
I
you
meant
know,
the state.
Okay,
Same
okay.
state.
I'm like, you know, if you
I've been
haven't
in
seen
3
them,
different places. I've been in 3 different
I'm
places.
just putting it out there for everybody, you know what I mean?
trying to help you out, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe don't go to the same place if you haven't seen an elk there 3 times.
Yeah, you know, sometimes
Trying
the
to
writing's
help
on
you
the wall.
It is. It
Okay,
is.
I
But
mean,
same
no.
state is what I meant.
Okay, there
Same
you go.
state's
okay.
what I meant.
No,
And,
but
you know, in like public landwise and everything else, with the way technology is today,
your
it's so
research.
much easier to do your research online.
It's so much easier to do your research. You can and using some of the what they call it now, cyber scouting.
Yep.
You know, being able
And
to
you
look
can mark
at,
it down. You put it
yeah.
to your GPS. You get there, and it brings you to that little drainage that you located on a sat phone or a satellite photo.
That's
I mean,
exactly right. Yeah.
There's so many
There's
things
so
that
many
are
things.
available. See, years ago, I had to look. You know, I'd order a topographical map.
Yeah.
And I try to look down and see, okay, I'd look at this ditch and go, okay, well, or this drainage and go, there's got to be water there. Today, you don't
can
even
see
have to,
you can see the river. You can see
there
the
you
pond.
go.
You can find
you
the
don't have
wallow.
to be able to read a topo map.
No.
You could just go
You
to
can
a
look for
sat phone
quakies.
or a sat photo, huh?
Yeah. I said
Yeah.
you can just look for quakies.
Look at the quake. Quakies are going to grow where the moisture is.
Quakies are aspens for people who don't know that.
Oh, yeah.
But poplars, depending on what part of the country you're in.
Yeah, some people
Yes.
call them poplars, some call them
Poplars,
quakies,
out west they're
aspens,
quakies,
the
yeah.
white-barked yellow leaf tree.
There you go.
Here's
in
the
the
big
fall.
thing, and I know we brought this up on many podcasts, and we'll continue to do it. 3 things: food
Cover.
and water.
One water. Yeah.
That's it. If you isolate those 3 things, I don't care where you are, what you're hunting.
Doesn't matter the species.
No, sir. It's going to make you more successful.
It will. It will. Well, but this has been great, just going down memory lane with you two and talking about, you know, some of your most memorable hunts from hunting with your son and with family, and then, you know, some of the I guess you'd call it the larger trophies that you've been able to get with the 203 and the 307.
No,
whatever. I don't remember the numbers because the numbers don't matter. It's about the memory
They don't matter to us.
Yeah, they don't matter. And as some of this gentleman in my Sunday school says, he said, don't worry about it because it don't matter.
That's
You know?
right.
And he's right.
That's right.
He is right. He is right about a lot of things. So we'll just bring this podcast to a close.
There you go.
You know, it's been again really good to talk about these things and to relive them, and to for those of you who aren't watching this, and just to be able to watch their expressions as they go back in time and bring up these memories, you can tell that there's a lot of joy in that. So. But thanks for listening. Again, this is Off Grid with Ralph and Vicki. I'm your host, Pete Rogers. If you haven't had a chance to subscribe yet, please do. And come back. We'll have more podcasts coming up soon.
Thanks for listening to this week's podcast. We hope you come back again for more of Ralph and Vicki's Off Grid podcast with your host, Pete Rogers.